Welcome, and here we go. It is time for the Vol Report brought to you by Vols Automotive Group and Big Orange Phillies. I'll tell you more about both of them here momentarily. He's John Adams. I'm Dave Hooker. Please hit that like video, thumbs up. Helps us share the word. And also, if you haven't subscribed yet, we need you to as we push forward, but definitely hit that thumbs up button, even if you are subscribed. Feel free to share. We appreciate that as well. And John, speaking of sharing, this Tennessee team has shared an awful lot of heartbreak with the community. It got sky high, the expectations, and came crumbling down in Columbia. And boy, you just hate to you hate to imagine what's going through Tennessee's football players' heads right now. As it's Vanderbilt and no more college football playoff. How important is it, do you think, to have the right mindset just to beat Vanderbilt and be in a significant bowl game?
Well, I think you hit it right on there when you talked about sharing, because I thought Tennessee shared a lot of its end zone with South Carolina.
Yes,
In fact, but it's not really surprising because South Carolina's offense is obviously one of the most dynamic in the country. You
I sense
can't
sarcasm.
stop it. What?
I sense sarcasm.
Really? Yeah, you can't. You can't stop it. You just hope to hold it under 50 in Tennessee. Unfortunately for the Vols, it couldn't. What a horrible miss on that. Well, I mean, what so much was to be gained by simply beating South Carolina, mediocre team all year, and then Vanderbilt Saturday, and it's all gone by the boards now, and you just want to win that state championship. But it might be harder on the fans than it is the players because fans have been through this before, where they got their hopes elevated about Tennessee football, and then they came to just a crashing halt on a Saturday, as was the case last Saturday.
Well, and with Tennessee too, I thought, and I think you would agree, that their hopes should have been sky high. I mean, no one really saw that one coming. We'll get into some of the reasons, but I don't think there was any sort of hype master going on. I thought that this team was really that good to be in the college football playoff. I don't think that was a stretch at all.
No, not at all, Dave. In fact, this team had been really consistent when you think about it. It hadn't stumbled in games it was supposed to win. It was a great bet when it was a large favorite. You certainly saw that against Missouri. You've seen it in other games. Tennessee usually covered. It's been that way all year, and it also had been very good in the clutch. Uh, when it fell behind against Pittsburgh and in the final moments against Florida, when it had to rise up and make a big defensive stand, and then again in the epic victory over Alabama. So yeah, all those things. It was almost like a different team showed up on both sidelines. I mean, the best thing that happened in South Carolina was its two running backs were hurt. So they said, hey, well, I guess we'll just give the ball to Spencer Rattler, let him throw it around and see what happens. Nice coaching on the Gamecocks' part.
Yeah, throughout the season, again, a little bit, a little bit of sarcasm. I don't know where that was all year. I visited with a South Carolina beat reporter, and I said, "What was the key?" And he said that basically South Carolina and Spencer Rattler needed to go out there and play his own game and not worry about what the coaches said. So it was it was essentially Spencer needs to go out there and go rogue,
Uh-huh.
which is exactly what he did. And I giggled about it at the time, like you just did, but
Yeah.
sure enough, it worked.
And yeah, it was like the final words to the team before it comes out of the locker room in South Carolina was, okay, guys, just go rogue. Spencer Rattler said amen and went out there and threw 6 touchdown passes.
Well, they don't go rogue at Vols Automotive Group. At Vols Automotive Group, what they do is they make sure that you have a car selection that is absolutely solid, which is still tough to get nowadays. And they make sure they're quality vehicles. They go through and they inspect them all to make sure you get a fair price on that. and they'll take care of you at Vols Automotive Group on Callahan Drive. Love Vols Automotive Group. And if you ever need a car serviced, know that you're going to get the exact service that you need, and not the one that just might make some dealer or some service department more money. They are about integrity there at Vols Automotive Group. They want, they need, and they appreciate your business. John, can this team get up for Vanderbilt? Will it get up for Vanderbilt?
Does it have to get up for Vanderbilt? I don't. I mean, Tennessee should be able to beat Vanderbilt without being at its best. I realize Vanderbilt's won back-to-back games, but Florida and Kentucky, those teams are both very inconsistent. You catch them on a bad day, you can beat them. Even Vanderbilt could. I am surprised Vanderbilt's won 2 consecutive games. Vanderbilt's defense is worse than Tennessee's. So I think a lot of it depends on how well backup quarterback Joe Milton, replacing an injured hooker, Hendon Hooker, how well Joe Milton plays. And I think he'll play well against Vanderbilt. So I think Tennessee will be able to, I think, kind of to get up for the game, but it's still no matter what. I mean, he can't beat Vanderbilt badly enough to make up what happened last Saturday.
No,
He just can't.
no, and I think that there are a couple of people that are putting out some sort of concoction where Tennessee can make the college football playoff because
Hmm.
they beat LSU and they beat Alabama. But I'm sorry, nobody has a loss on their resume that's going to make the college football playoff like Tennessee has. That's just not going to happen. You mentioned Hendon Hooker. You know, this is sports, and there are greater things in life. There are greater tragedies, of course. So let's keep it in perspective. But man, you talk about a young man who's said and done all the right things. One of the greatest stories I can remember being associated with Tennessee football. And John, I'm just heartbroken for that young man and his family. That was a pretty big blow.
It was I think it was this one of the saddest moments I've seen covering Tennessee football. Seeing him hobble off the field, was helped off the field, and then go to the locker room there at Williams Brice Stadium. Uh, I mean, he's done as much as anybody has for Tennessee football. I mean, when you think about it, where would this team be without him? I don't think Tennessee fans want to think about that because he did so much, and he also represented the program in the best way possible. He was a great ambassador for the program on and off the field. And the thing about him as a player, you his Heisman chances are probably gone because he won't get to play this week rather, and then other quarterbacks and other candidates will be playing in their conference championship games. But you need to look at his when you're thinking about voting for a Heisman Trophy candidate. I think you should consider his body of work and what all he did for this team and this offense. The thing that to me was really unusual about him as a player was that he was a playmaker. He could make plays running, passing. He could make big plays. He was good in the clutch, but he was also very efficient and careful. And that combination doesn't usually come together. Usually, the guy that's a playmaker takes chances, he throws into coverage, he forces things with the best intentions. But Hendon Hooker he was able to make plays and still play very much under control, hence his interception total, I guess 5 interceptions in 2 years.
Yeah, those are like bizarro numbers, like video game numbers to throw that few of interceptions with that many attempts. Great place to watch the game on the weekend is Big Orange Phillies in North Knoxville on Maynardville Pike. You're very close to Maynardville. You're very close to North Knoxville, so you can make that easy drive there. And also know it's Thanksgiving weekend, so you probably got friends from out of town. That is a great place to go hang out and watch the game before or after the turkey, and you will love Big Orange Phillies. because it's family friendly. And they also have darts, billiards. They've got it all at Big Orange Phillies. All right, John. So with this Tennessee loss, um, Tennessee decides to keep Jeremy Banks on the field. And what I've been told and reported, it was a scuffle between him and Hendon Hooker that precluded him from playing against South Carolina. I would argue that the notion that the defense quit because there was a split down the middle of the team is a little bit too sensationalized. I will say this: I thought that Tennessee's defensive front was pretty bland up front, and I think part of that was because you've got to trust that when you run twists and stunts and different blitzes, that every, I know we make fun of the term, but gap containment, you have to make sure that you're not giving up a huge monstrous gap. And I think they were concerned about doing that with Jeremy Banks at the very least. Now, as far as the there being some sort of team split, I don't know. I don't think that's the case, but nevertheless, he's the guy that you have to point to that cost you any chance of beating South Carolina, hot or not on offense. He's the guy that you have to point to as not being in the college football playoff. And this isn't his first incident. I'm very surprised that he's still on the football team. How about you?
Well, I'm not that surprised because I've seen coaches let players back on the team or keep them on the team or minimize the penalty because they felt as though they needed him. I think Jeremy Pruitt brought him back on the team, as I recall. It wasn't Josh Heupel, isn't that right?
Right.
Yeah. So I think I, Jeremy Pruitt, I think, was concerned about what would happen to Jeremy Banks if he weren't playing football. And maybe you buy that, maybe you don't. Maybe you look at it. We can be pretty cynical about coaches' motives, justifiably. But when he Banks, you're taking a chance there. I think it's really important where coaches should care about their players, but the overriding concern always has to be when a coach makes a decision, what's best for the program. Was bringing Jeremy Banks back on the team best for the program? Well, I guess we can argue that, but right now it doesn't seem like it was a good decision.
Well, and it's not as if he had the best season either. I mean, he's supposed to be the guy that turns in the tackle for losses and the sacks, and the guy that brings explosiveness from that position. For instance, and Aaron Beasley is supposed to be your steady tackling type of linebacker. I mean, that's the way this defense was built. And he really didn't turn in a lot of those plays. Even before all of this happened, I thought weeks ago that, Jeremy Banks, where are you? I thought you would be one of the top 5 playmakers, and I don't even know that he was top 15.
No, I agree. Aaron Beasley was more of a playmaker this season. He has been. Um, if Jeremy Banks would have played, I still don't think Tennessee would have won that game. The reason being, I don't think they were ready for what South Carolina was going to do offensively. And you mentioned the blitzes. Even if they would have had Jeremy Banks, they blitzed in the second half, and that didn't work either. To me, this had a whole lot to do with South Carolina. And I think it's easy to forget how good Spencer Rattler was supposed to be. I mean, he was the front runner for the Heisman Trophy at Oklahoma going into the 21 season, loses his job to Caleb Williams, who then became a Heisman Trophy candidate himself, but he's a 70% passer completion average. So he hasn't played like this all year, but I think there was circumstances that had to do with South Carolina, and they pretty much just said, "Well, this is what we got to do now." But it did some other things that I don't think Tennessee was ready for. Jaheim Bell, it's tight end. They played him some and let him run the ball. He was supposed to be a playmaker going into this season. He wasn't just a tight end. He's one of those hybrid guys that could play in the slot. You could put him in the backfield. Then another playmaker, Dakarian Joyner, who started his career as a quarterback. They moved to wide receiver. They put him in the Wildcat. I just don't think Tennessee was ready for what South Carolina planned on doing. I thought that had a lot to do with the game.
Agreed. I had a scout tell me that as far as the way he charts it is wow throws. That coming into this game, Spencer Rattler had 13 wow throws, which is pretty average. Where you put it someplace that it's just not supposed to go, and it's an incredible completion. He had 8 in the game against Tennessee. So he had 13 the whole season and 8 against Tennessee. Yeah, I mean, if I'm a South Carolina fan, I'm like, Shane Beamer, where's this been? I mean, that to me is the takeaway outside of what we talk about with Tennessee is like, what have you been doing with this kid?
I'm the same way. I was thinking as the game's going along. I mean, it seems as though South Carolina's offense was predicated on balance. They wanted to establish a running game and then throw play action. That's what it's been doing. And also keep in mind, it has a really bad offensive line,
Oh yeah,
really bad. But it was blocking Tennessee. But Spencer Rattler made some plays. He made a few plays under duress. He got better blocking than he has all year. I think eh, I think when you have a player making the kind of plays he did, I think it rejuvenates the entire offense. I think they suddenly get some confidence. Man, if we can just hold our block a little longer, this guy will make an incredible throw. And that's what happened Saturday. Just kept making them. Uh, in fact, I had one Tennessee fan. You'll have a hard time believing this. He said, I don't have a problem with the team scoring as much as it can, but I kind of thought South Carolina, that last touchdown was unnecessary. I mean,
wow,
seriously? I
yeah.
stopped him in mid sentence. A Tennessee fan can never complain about somebody, quote, running up a score. I mean, come on.
No, Tennessee just went through that against Missouri.
Missouri.
Yeah, Vols Automotive Group is your home for car purchasing, car swapping, whatever you want to call it, right there in Callahan, North Knoxville, on Callahan. And they need, and they appreciate your business. Also, great service department. I highly, highly endorse Vols Automotive Group and Big Orange Phillies as well. Man, I'll be there this weekend. Chowing down some wings in between turkey, and it's a great place to catch up with the out of town friends when they come in town. You get an opportunity to see them, and don't forget it's family friendly. You can shoot some stick, you can throw some darts. It's just a great place to hang out. So, John, how do you see this team responding, not just against Vanderbilt, but how do you see this team responding moving forward? Because there are two ways that this team can go, or it's probably going to be somewhere in the middle. But this team can not show up against Vanderbilt. They could still win, but not show up against Vanderbilt, not care about the bowl game. You see a bunch of guys not play in the bowl game now that we're talking bowl instead of college football playoff. Got a couple of guys that I think will forego the bowl game. Or you could see a team that says, hey, 10 wins and then 11 with a bowl game is pretty darn historic. And at the end of the day, when you look back 10 years in context, that's a huge accomplishment. How do you think this team reacts?
Well, first of all, I don't think players look at it that way. I think fans do, and people that have followed the team a long time. And I think players might look back at it in years to come later on. But no, I don't think they really think about, oh, we can win 11 games. I think what's happened, essentially, in a way, Tennessee's season ended last week. They still got a game to play and a bowl to go to, but this was a season for playing in the college football playoff. It was all right there in front of Tennessee, a chance to win a national championship, even though it lost to Georgia on Georgia's home field. So it's a great opportunity. When you lose that, that's a blow to everybody. But I still think playing against Vanderbilt, a chance to sort of feel better about the team, feel better about the season. I think the Tennessee players will play well. I think there's also a huge motivation, fear of losing to Vanderbilt. That that goes with you. I mean, Tennessee could be the team that almost made it to the college football playoff. Oh, and it also lost to Vanderbilt. Losses to Vanderbilt, I think, really resonate with this program. It's kind of like the ultimate put down, the ultimate stigma. So I think Tennessee will play well against Vanderbilt, and I think Vanderbilt's defensive shortcomings will really help Tennessee's offense and help Joe Milton, who can make some big time throws. And so I expect Tennessee to bounce back and win this game.
I'm I'm gonna disagree with you on one thing, and part of this is probably because on our YouTube channel, if you go ahead and hit the like, subscribe button, and turn your notifications on, I do visit week to week with Cooper Mays and Jacob Warren, and I do believe I don't know about Sunday, but when I talked to him on Monday, that they saw the what this could mean in context for their legacy 8 to 10 years from now. Now, those may just be the only two. I don't know, but they did see this as the ability to finish with 10 wins in the regular season, go on to a good bowl game. They saw that as very significant. Now, is that 1 to 85? I don't know, but I do think this is a mature team that is able to see that. Most of the players, if we have this conversation, 99 times 98, I'm going to say that no, they don't have that sort of context. I think they do now. So anyway, that's the ball report with John Adams. He's everywhere. Follow him, and he may tweet at John Adams KNS. You never know. And it's brought to you by Vols Automotive Group and Big Orange Phillies. This has been a presentation of Off the Hook Sports.